A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English, your favorite UPSC platform. I am Soumya, and like every day, let's analyze the Hindu newspaper New Delhi edition. For today, that's 27th September 2025. And here we are with all the UPSC relevant, exam relevant news articles for the day. So, welcome everyone. A very good morning, Prakash, being the first one today with us. A very good morning to you. And here I have selected about 9 articles from today's The Hindu newspaper because all these articles are important from the UPSC exam perspective. The first 2 articles I have picked up from the editorial page because they are a little lengthy. So we will look into these articles and collect all the inputs and points for answer writing. We will also do a topic mapping, that which article belongs to which topic under UPSC syllabus. Alongside, we will also see some UPSC prelims practice questions. Now, with regards to all the PDFs that my dear students have been requesting, so they have been uploaded, you will be able to find all the PDFs until 26th, that's yesterday. Okay, and all that is available in the link, the Hindu link in the description box of today's video. Very good morning, dear Saurav, Kundan. Very good morning, Nagula. Very good morning, Dipesh. So now let's get going with the articles for the day. The first article, page number 8, editorial page article. Article is talking about Kathmandu. We all know the recent conflict and the recent turmoil that happened in Nepal. All that started because the government of Nepal had stopped the services from various social media platforms, including X, the Twitter, including Instagram, including Facebook. The government of Nepal said all these international social media platforms have failed to re-register themselves under the Nepali law. That means now they will not be allowed to continue their operations in Nepal. This is something that really upset the Generation Z, the young generation of Nepal. But this was only a trigger because the real reason behind the protest that was joined in thousands of numbers by young people across the country was due to the ongoing corruption, unemployment, a very, very dynastic politics, failure of the ruling parties to deliver governance and transparency to the people on ground. A lot of people also complained that the political leaders of Nepal, they themselves are living a luxurious life with most of their children studying in expensive colleges abroad, flouting expensive luxury cars. While on the road, the people are struggling to find a basic source of livelihood. So these were creating an anger among the young people. And on 8th September 2025, as the government decided to ban the social media platforms, the youth of Nepal thought this is an act of controlling their free speech and expression. It is an act of undemocratically surveilling the life of the common people. And people could not tolerate that. So on 8th September 2025, many young people joined the protest. We all saw the videos how the ex-political leaders were punished. Some of them were beaten on the roads. Some houses were vandalized. All that is a sign of poor governance, lack of economic growth and social justice that today precipitated in the form of this major crisis in Nepal. The article talks exactly about that. The core argument of the article is what is exactly going on in South Asia, from Myanmar to Sri Lanka, from Sri Lanka to, say, Bangladesh today, including countries like Nepal. What is going on in South Asia? Why are the South Asian countries experiencing such a high level of destabilization? What does it mean for countries like India? And there is one more question the article is asking. Is it true that the young generation of today, whether it is a Western population or whether it comes from an Asian country, are the today's young generation Z people more responsible than their earlier generation? Do they have the capacity to take control over politics and make newer politics and newer policies in a modernization agenda? So the article can be pegged to GS paper 2. It is a current affair of international importance, international relations, as well as it also looks at the foreign policy choices that India has. How did India react to this change of regime in Nepal? All these questions are raised here, and as I said, everything began on 8th September 25 as the generation Z of Nepal burst out into protest. The trigger was absolutely the ban of social media, but in reality, it was a bigger failure, the perceived failure of the government of Nepal to control unemployment, corruption, and bureaucratic red tapeism. The protest became so strong that eventually police also started acting with violence upon the protesters. That further angered the population, and immediately Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's government fell down. It collapsed overnight. He had to resign the very next day, that is September 9. Army Chief General A.R. Sigdal was the one who mediated between the people and the government. So here there is one more trend emerging. Army has played a key mediating role in Nepal's crisis right now. Could it mean a danger in the future that while the parliamentary government is falling weak, it is army that is doing the regulatory function? And finally, after the army was trying to mediate, former Chief Justice of Nepal, the first woman Prime Minister of Nepal, Justice Sushila Karki, was sworn in as the new interim Prime Minister, with the fresh elections being announced next year for March 2026. But what are the most defining and remarkable features of this new protest and the new change from the earlier Mr. KP Sharma Oli's government to now Justice Sushila Karki's interim government? One thing is very clear. Nepal is generally considered to be a country where the level of women empowerment is not very strong. Today, also, we see early marriages in vogue, a very high rate of maternal mortality, school dropouts among young girls, and lack of jobs, lack of participation of women in the labor force. Despite all these problems, today, for the first time, a woman, a lady prime minister, became the leader of the government. This is a great step towards empowering Nepal's society. Second trend that we have observed is that quite unlike the 1990s and the 2006, when Nepal experienced huge Jan Andolans. These Jan Andolans were initiatives that were taken by political parties against the king and the queen, against the monarchy. So the Jan Andolans of 1990s and 2006 in Nepal were led by political parties. They were organized political movements. The purpose was to criticize the monarchy and to try to bring in more democracy. All the political parties participated in the Jan Andolans. But today, the 2025 September protest is not a political party protest. It is not a political movement. It is something that we call in modern day language as the new social movement. What is a new social movement? A new social movement is one where people protest for majority or many agendas together. It could be about political reform, it could be about social reform, it could be about economic and environmental reform. Today, this movement by the Generation Z of Nepal is not an organized political movement. It is a movement of common man on ground. It is a new social movement that is led by the young generation, the future leadership of Nepal, against all political parties, against all political parties, against the existing government, against the ignorance and the apathy of the Nepali government towards the aspirations of youth. Now, it was quite a statement when the young protesters of Nepal also said that we want a prime minister like the Indian Prime Minister Shri Modi, who has the capacity to lead young generation into fulfilling their dreams. We need that kind of stability in Nepal. These people are the young common people. They are students. They are the young workers of Nepal. They do not have a political structure. They do not have a systematic political agenda. They are only trying to ask a question from the existing government that how long will you keep us in the dark? And why don't we deserve a transparent democracy? Here, it was only about Nepali army who was trying to come and negotiate and stabilize the situation. On the one hand, the Nepali army was trying to talk to the government. On the other hand, the Nepali army was trying to control the violence. It was also trying to negotiate with the youth leadership. And it was trying to consult various parties to bring some peace. But the young people were angry. So, therefore, it has nothing to do with the political movement. It is absolutely the new social movement that shows the aspirations of a crowd that sees societies of the Europe, societies of America, society of India, where people have much more freedom and democratic stability, opportunities. These people are right when they want to dream of the same kind of life. And this reflected in the protest of Nepal. It also displayed the lack of trust that the young generation of Nepal has in the political institutions of Nepal. It also shows that Nepal as a country is over dependent on army's credibility rather than the government's credibility. Now, talking about Article 61 of Nepali Constitution. Under Article 61 of Nepali Constitution, it was it is given that it is a duty of the government to uphold constitution, and this article 61 therefore does not justify the formation of an interim government. A lot of critics are saying that the process of selecting Justice Sushila Karki as the interim prime minister by the president of Nepal is quite unconstitutional as per article 61 of Nepali constitution, because no formal emergency has been declared. No proper protocol has been followed. Just she was appointed as the prime minister to bring some peace in the situation. Tomorrow, it might also lead to alienation of local communities like the Madheshi community, the Tharu community, the Janjati group of Nepal, which might further lead to social problems and further ethnic tensions might erupt. Now, again, the article is asking the same question, that why is South Asia completely enveloped in so much political destability? South Asia has been seeing turbulence since the last 5 years, on and on. For example, in 2021 in Myanmar, it was the junta that took over after a political coup that happened in Myanmar. After that, what happened? The pro democratic government leader Aung San Suu Kyi was once again relegated to the background. And the Nepal and the military junta of Myanmar, which is known for its atrocities, by the way, it again came to power. Similarly, in 2021, in Afghanistan, as the US troops receded from the country, it was Taliban that once again came to power. Now, Taliban today is busy implementing its extremist agenda. Fundamentalism is at its peak. Recently, a ruling came where the government is not even allowing women to have window access to their own houses, let alone working or education rights. Why? Because they believe in a very, very conservative ideology that is rooted in gender bias and divide. So, what's happening in Afghanistan is also a defeat of humanitarian cause. Similarly, let's talk about Sri Lankan crisis, the Aragalia movement that also took shape, putting Sri Lanka in massive economic recession. Similarly, Bangladesh 2024. Sheikh Hasina led government was defeated. She was forced to resign after the same kind of youth protest in Bangladesh also. The common trigger, now if we notice properly, the common trigger in all these countries has been the leadership of the young population. It is the Generation Z which has now demonstrated its power across all these cases, except, of course, Taliban. But in Taliban also, we can argue a majority of people who are a part of Taliban right now are recruited as young soldiers. So they are young people again. So across all these economic and social problems, it is the young generation that is now wanting a change, a reform, a revolution. In Nepal crisis of 2025, the revolt was against political parties, done by the common man. Because youth unemployment in Nepal is touching today a limit of about 20%. That's very, very high. Nepal has seen 7 governments change in the past few years. As you're saying, order, there is so much nepotism going on. Absolutely. So today, the Nepal's population wants the government to transform into a multi-party democracy. But we don't understand today. The question is whether the youth will continue to fight and protest in a fragmented way, just in a social movement that's loosely coordinated, or whether the youth will actually get the power and start becoming a much better organized political movement. Will the youth of Nepal tomorrow form separate political parties and contest in the elections? Or they will continue to work outside the government and keep on retaliating whenever they feel too much problem and too much atrocity has started in the country. So that's the article. A very, very good morning there, Jayant, Veda, Dhanu, Dipesh, Anurag, Mr. SM. I'm absolutely good. Thank you, dear. 2027 foundation batch. Absolutely, Dhanu. So that's a sale that's going on, dear. And the sale is valid till 30th September because we at StudyIQ are celebrating 20 million subscriber base, and that's a massive, massive milestone. So for that, the sale is going on. Should you want more details about it, then please fill up the form, or I will ask somebody from the backend team to reach out to you. Okay. So military coup is not possible in India, Anurag, because India is a country where usually the power is vested in the parliament to be overseen and regulated by the judiciary. Now, we are not a society that is dictated by military activism. We don't have that culture. So, the main purpose of our army for us is to promote self defense, self reliance, prevention, protection, rather than actually interfering in the democratic process. So India is the largest and one of the most sophisticated democracy right now. But when we talk about countries like Bangladesh, who became a full-blown country back recently in 1971, or countries like Nepal, which has seen a predominance of monarchy for a long time, it is difficult for them to achieve smooth democracy in a short period of time. So these are certain concerns. Now, the question, which Dipesh is already answering, with reference to Saurav is also answering. With reference to the political crisis in Nepal, look at the following statements. One, the appointment of interim Prime Minister Justice Sushila Karki was made under Article 61 of the 2015 Nepali Constitution. Two, the interim government has been mandated to conduct fresh elections by March 26. 3. The 2015 Constitution of Nepal introduced a bicameral, that's a multi-house, bi-house, legislature with both houses fully elected through the first past the post system. Now, this important is also very important, very, very crucial to India. This system, first past the post. Can anybody tell me in which election in India do we use this system? First past the post. For election to which post of the parliament do we use this protocol? FPTP. So now Dipesh, Saurav, Dhanu, everybody is saying the answer will be B. And yes, absolutely, that's valid. Absolutely, that's valid. That's a valid answer there. So very, very well done. Great job. Okay, Veda says presidential. Any other comments there? To the Lok Sabha, absolutely, Dhanu. Absolutely. Lok Sabha ministers of parliament, yes, they will be selected by the system of first past the post system. And in case you want to know more about the system, you can let me know. We will discuss it in the form of a separate video. It's very important to be clear with the concepts, especially for constitution, the most scoring subject of your GS paper. Most scoring. Okay. Very good. Lok Sabha and state legislatures. So thank you there. Dipesh, Saurav, Dhanu, Anurag, Vaibhav, good morning. Veda, Dipesh, Jayant, very well answered. Great job. So the next article now, we'll move on to the page number 9. Same, it's editorial page, page number 8, upgrading the shipyards. Yes, we are talking about India's maritime economy. Recently, we saw so many articles. It's absolutely fine, Veda. That's wonderful that you're answering, and I'm so happy at that, my dear. Now, we recently spoke about how in India we are looking at a maritime sector development. India is one country which has recently launched about rupees 69,725 crore package to revitalize the shipping and maritime ecosystem. Why? Because India, under its policies like the Sagar Mala, the policy of blue economy. India today wants to utilize its ocean resources in order to become a more empowered economy in times to come. And here, Navy and ocean defense is an equally important domain. But we also understand that today India's contribution in the global shipbuilding is less than 2%. Majority of ships used in India are all created in foreign countries. They are all imported ships. Very, very small merchant ships are manufactured within India, and that too in the last 10 years. So, despite today being in the top 5 economies of the world, with a coastline that spreads to 7,500 kilometers and a large number of merchant fleet, India has been lagging behind when it comes to manufacturing ships and when it comes to more foreign direct investment in the maritime sector. So, today, what we are trying to do, we are trying to replace the 2015 Shipbuilding Financial Assistance Policy and replace it with a completely new agenda which talks about India's new revitalized maritime policy. Absolutely. India wants to develop 200 Navy ships by 2025. That's a wonderful interjection, Dipesh. Absolutely. And recently, we also saw how India is trying to now focus more on the Indian Ocean Rim country region. India is trying to focus better towards the Southeast Asian region. Recently, India also requested that it wants to monitor the Strait of Malacca. The purpose was again to participate in the Indian Ocean regions so that China's monopoly can also be balanced and controlled. So, yes, India is trying to make a massive presence right now in the ocean. And the policy of giving 69,725 crore to boost shipbuilding, to boost defense, to boost maritime sector is quite in line with that. Okay. So, the purpose is to announce this policy and to implement the policy by March 2026, because in March 2026 our existing shipbuilding financial assistance policy is now ready to expire. So let's see what is going on here. Now, as I said, despite having a coastline of 7,500, India lacks in shipbuilding. India lacks when it comes to creating merchant ships. Very few people participate here. So let's talk about the defense. If we talk about the Navy and the Coast Guard, they have been the domains which have kept India's maritime sector alive. They are the ones who contribute maximum, the Coast Guard and the Indian Navy, towards India's security, towards investing in ship manufacturing, rebuilding, revitalizing technology. But today the time has come when we must understand that on a large scale, commercial shipbuilding has to start in India. Usually, what happens if the country continues to use imported ships that is owned by foreign companies? The foreign companies will, over a period of time, transfer the ownership papers to Indian users, but still they continue to maintain some control on the ship and its basic technicalities. So, in order to come out of that foreign domination trap, it makes good sense that India invests more money and promotes research and development in commercial shipbuilding at a large scale. Why does India need a huge commercial shipbuilding? One, to reduce dependence on foreign traders and foreign companies, to reduce dependence on foreign yards. It will save us a lot of foreign exchange and a lot of money if we start manufacturing our own ship under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Viksit Bharat by 2047. Similarly, if we have a large commercial shipbuilding, we will also be able to generate more jobs in that area. Jobs across manufacturing, advertising, jobs across various kind of research and development policies in the shipbuilding. Ship manufacturing skills will be upgraded in India. So that will lead to more self-dependence and definitely more jobs, both white collar and blue collar jobs. Similarly, Made in India Ship Initiative will also avoid dependence on foreign built ships. Many times the world is facing conflict. Recently, the Iran Israel conflict happened. Russia Ukraine is still continuing. Attack on Gaza and the war with Israel Palestine is still continuing. What happens? The world continues to experience geopolitical shocks. So, too much dependent on foreign ships could always create problems of supply. whenever it is about a global conflict, whenever it is about a supply chain shock. So at that time, India will suffer if it doesn't have a ship fleet of its own. At the same time, even when the papers are transferred and later Indian merchants buy the foreign ships after having used them for say 10 years, 15 years, the paper transferring is done. But still, the foreign companies know everything about the ship, technicality, know how, repair. That is not safe for us. Similarly, the foreign companies sometimes exert extra influence because initially they were the owners of that ship. Sometimes they supply deteriorated quality of ships. So all that problem can be solved if India has its own solid modular construction technology in shipbuilding. Now, talking about modular construction technology in shipbuilding, India can learn a massive lesson here. Say from countries like Japan, countries like South Korea, countries like China, who are already using the modular shipbuilding technology, which means they have their own prefabricated blocks. They have their own 1,000-ton cranes. They have their own assembly line in yards. Besides, in India, we still lack this modular shipbuilding large scale technology. So even when we manufacture the ship, they are either medium or small size ships. We don't make full size commercial vessels even today. That's where we are lacking. So we need to learn this modular technology, invest more manpower, more resource potential in creating greenfield shipbuilding commercial factories. Similarly, Indian shipbuilding also today lacks indigenous locally manufactured engines, locally manufactured electronic systems, and locally manufactured navigation system. Now, naturally, if you borrow navigation system from another country, how safe it is for you, especially when you are using these ships for coast guard and naval use. It is definitely not safe. So today, India will actually have to utilize more things like you are mentioning the order. AI, artificial intelligence. India has to use the prospects of supercomputers, quantum computing into creating more predictive modelings when it comes to using modular construction technology. We need to have our own Atmanirbharta, self capacity in ship manufacturing. We also need to have more specialized institutions. For example, China. China has a complete shipbuilding manpower. It has institutions where manpower is trained to manufacture ships, specialized manpower. India lacks that. So today, as we are investing rupees 69,000 crore, what is the future agenda? One, India now proposes to upscale its shipbuilding manufacturing with the latest technology, modular technology of construction, including large 1,000-ton capacity cranes, more assembly line layouts, better skilled manpower, better financial support to ship owners for ordering manufacturing within Indian yards, self-dependency in manufacturing local parts of the ship. Ultimately, the aim is to be able to achieve 4.5 million tonnage capacity. That's the broader intention of the program, to achieve 4.5 million tonnage capacity in shipbuilding, merchant ships. We need to develop this kind of capacity in merchant ship manufacturing. The agenda could be start small and then scale up. For example, India could start with designing 500 gigatons vessels initially, and later we can expand it to making bigger ferries, ships, green fuel carriers. At the same time, we can also learn lessons, as I said, from countries like China, Japan, and South Korea, where not only are they focusing on modular construction technology, but they are also trying to use green energy when it comes to ship navigation. China has a complete ecosystem today, not only from making shipyards to training manpower, but also making ships that are using green energy. So that is exactly what we need to do now. So India needs to revitalize its maritime sector, and ultimately that is quite in line with the Sagarmala policy. India's presence in the IOR, India's presence in the South China, India's presence in the Western Pacific Ocean. That's the agenda for the hour. Absolutely, we can use Dipesh. That's what something we need to do. Yes, order. Like the Boeing plane still retains some ownership rights. Very good example there. Okay. Yes, a very good example here could be the Mazagaon shipbuilders, to revitalize that. Absolutely, absolutely, Dipesh. We can make indigenous ships and then try to make it global supply chain. Very well commented there, very smart and very well thought of comments. Now let's have a look at the question. First time it is always hard, but eventually we can achieve that. I so agree. Like we have done in the defense sector. Yesterday we saw that article, how the latest version of light combat aircraft Tejas MiG-1A is now coming, as the older fleet is now ready to retire after 15 years of service. Who has manufactured that? Ultimately, it is India who is manufacturing. HAL or DRDO are the leading manufacturers of defense components. If we can do that in defense, we can do that in shipbuilding also. With reference to India's shipbuilding sector, look at the following statements. One, the recently announced shipbuilding package of 69,725 crore is intended to replace the older shipbuilding financial assistance policy, which is now ready to expire in March 26. Second, under the 2015 Constitution of Nepal, all shipbuilding subsidies were linked only to defense vessels. 3. India aims to expand its capacity to build merchant ships to 4.5 million tonnage by coming years under the new package of 69,000 crores. So which of these statements do you think are correct? And Mr. SM says the answer is B. So which according to you is the answer? So many people are commenting that the answer here is going to be B. Absolutely, that's a valid answer. So well answered there. Mr. Sen, Dipesh, Sugam, Saurav, sorry. Very well answered. Very well answered, my dear. Very well answered. What's the comment there? Very good morning, Jay. Very good morning, Jayant. Absolutely, Jayant. Our own demand is so much that we can start even supporting the global supply chain. The second statement is completely out of context. It doesn't make any sense. It cannot be correct. Because in the previous article, we have spoken about Nepali constitution of 2015, but that has nothing to do anything remotely with Nepal's maritime. Nepal doesn't even have a coastline, let alone having a maritime economy. So absolutely only the first and the third statement are valid. It's an easy knockoff question. Very well answered by Raju. Very well answered, Jayant. Okay. Well done, Dipesh. The next article, my dear, is a short one, but yes, it has some important points. So I have created an elaborate notes in the PPT. So usually what I try that for all the articles that are relevant for prelims, editorial articles, I don't write any notes in the PPT because that is about understanding. It is analytical. So you and I discuss them because I know you will remember classroom discussion. But for the articles that are prelims oriented, I usually make a lot of PPT notes so that once you get the PDF, you will have ready to make notes with you. It does have order. Absolutely. No, Dipesh. It is just a knockout point. How to remember the numbers, Veda? What you can do, my dear, is that, see, the beauty of doing classroom teaching is that, suppose, for example, I am appearing for next year UPSC exam. Okay. Now, I have a look at the newspaper. I look at the Yojana magazine. I am trying to remember so many facts. It is overwhelming. Alongside optional GS and CSAT, it is very difficult to be updated with the numbers. Here, the best thing you could do is like just in the way we are providing a separate folder in which all the Hindu PDFs are coming, create a folder for yourself. I would recommend maintaining a register because the pen and register strategy is much better than an online preparation strategy. I know for some students, tablet and computers work better, but that's completely your personal feeling. Now, even if you have a smartphone, you can create a folder there also. Or the best thing is to maintain a notebook with a pen. Every day you do the news discussion. And you also know, by the way, that 65% questions in the prelims are rooted in the current affairs. Nowadays, the trend has changed. When we recently analyzed the mains paper of 2025, except for optionals, most GS papers this time were again totally about current affairs. Even the case studies of the ethics paper were usually about current affairs. 65% plus exam, including the interview stage, is based on what is your interpretation of current affairs. Especially places in the news, map, then come why did this event happen? Why was this welfare scheme in the news? Why was this act, for example, Armed Forces Special Power Act? Why was it making news? Correct? Here, numbers as such are not important. That you should be always prepared with the number that, okay, 4.5 million tonnage has to be achieved. But every article will give you at least one to two important data points. What I'm trying to say, create a register, put the date. Don't put it on a daily basis, put it on a monthly basis. For example, September 2025. Point number one. Suppose you were reading an article about malnourishment. Just write down malnourishment in India, that's the topic. Leave some space. Every page, create a heading, move on to the next page. Top of the page should be the heading. Every day, as you get an interesting data about that, if not every day, once a week, keep writing it there. One page of the register dedicated to one topic, only current affairs. That's the best strategy I have seen with most people. First page I have written internal security. Point number one, okay, I'm writing about Armed Forces Special Power Act, dash, it was implemented in this year, it was expired in this year. Next page was about India's maritime economy. Point number one, just note down. Okay, suppose 69,000 crore rupees have been spent on creating a new package towards maritime strength boosting. Second point, okay, we need to achieve 4.5 million tonnage. That's the target by the end of 2030. Full stop. Keep updating that. Keep updating that. For September, October, the coming months. 1 point each. In September, this point came. October, this point came. By the end of the year, you will have a very comprehensive coverage of everything. And that's all you need. That's all. Nothing else is required. That's exactly what we need here. Okay, so you can do that. No need to remember each and every number. No need. Just jot down the important one or two data that you find each day or each week on a monthly basis. That is enough data for you to write the answer. Prelims will never ask you data. Prelims in UPSC will not ask you numbers. No. For the mains, you can use this in answer writing. And for that, this much is enough. Context is very important. So always give a heading. Otherwise, you will forget. Okay. Okay, so the important news is spread across various platforms. For example, PIB, the Hindu newspaper. But for a majority of aspirants, Hindu is the ultimate thing because people really depend on the Hindu news as very, very authentic, as very, very rounded coverage, a 360-degree coverage. So one newspaper is also enough. But in case you want to know more about, okay, what was published in the Indian Express, or I want to know something from Economic Times, for that extra little bit, either you can follow the news analysis sessions on our platform. We do that. Second thing you can do is to quickly also go online and see which were the special articles that were released under Economic Times or monthly under the Yojana magazine. So that is more than enough. But one newspaper will also solve your purpose because the reason why we are having this analysis is that you don't have to go back and read the newspaper. So we will always cover all the news. So you don't have to worry as much. Hindu is the holy grail. Absolutely, Veda. I agree. 2027. So current affairs you can best follow Saurav by newspapers only. Every day, the beauty of the news discussion is that not only are we reading the news, we are discussing the news. 1,000 questions come. We discuss them. We talk to each other. We post comments. You will not forget them because somewhere it is there in your subconscious now. Rather than passively reading the newspaper, that is easy to forget. But through interaction, you don't forget normally. So if you are taking the news sessions every day, I don't think there is even one question in prelims that you cannot attempt because you will have the context and you will have the news with you. And that's exactly what the prelims is all about. Okay? Fine. So now the next article quickly. The Armed Forces Special Powers Act. The Union Home Ministry, the Home Ministry of the Union government has now extended the military power, the power to the Indian Army under the Armed Forces Special Power Act in more parts of Manipur. Manipur is experiencing huge violence since the last 2 years between the Kuki-Zo and the Meitei community. Similarly, in Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland for another 6 months. Talking about Manipur, the Armed Forces Special Power Act has been extended in the whole state. The complete state now will come under the AFSPA. Okay. Similarly, in Nagaland, the same act has been extended for 6 months across 9 districts. Suddenly, including even in Andhra Pradesh, So quickly, let's understand what is this Armed Forces Special Power Act all about. Now, this was initially enacted in 1958. The purpose was to combat insurgency, violence, ethnic problems in the Naga Hills area in the Assam region, where Naxalism was at its peak, tribal insurgency was at its peak, ethnic racial violence was happening. So the government had to implement it back in 1985. Similarly, what was the purpose? To identify special, some such areas which are known as disturbed areas. Now, please understand the most important concept under the Armed Forces Special Power Act is disturbed areas. Under this act, certain areas were declared as disturbed areas. Disturbed areas are the areas where public order is completely in mess, where there is violence, fight, conflict going on, killings are going on, like what was happening in Manipur. Such an area will become a disturbed area under Section 3 of the Armed Forces Special Power Act. This will give special powers to the army, special powers to the military personnel to maintain forcefully some public order. Because now the army has to step in and do something. If the area is disturbed, it could further lead to genocide, like it happened in the case of Manipur, like it was happening recently in Nuh, in Haryana, where communal violence keeps outbreaking every now and then, like what happened long back in Godhra. Remember 2002. Muzaffarnagar 2013. In India, we have seen multiple cases where there is a complete chaos in public order. So, especially with areas which are very sensitive and prone, the government will declare them as disturbed areas. Under Section 3 of the Armed Forces Special Power Act, the governor or the central government will have the power to declare an area as disturbed. If there is a prevalence, if there is an existence of insurgency, violence, terrorism, extremism at a large scale for a long time. Now, the Special Forces Act that gives special power to the army to impose law and control also has a Section 4. Section 3 is Disturbed Area Declaration. Section 4 is about how the army can now use force, how it can use weapons, including killing people, shooting at sight, in case people are found to violate laws. There, nobody will ask a question to the army. Nobody will arrest the military person for carrying out a murder or a shoot at sight order. That's the only option that they have. The army will now be able to arrest without giving an arrest warrant or a warning. The army can carry weapons, and the army can also search anybody's premises, search anybody's location without having a search warrant. The army has the power to destroy units of terrorism. The army has the power to destroy shelters where extremist groups are hiding, and the army also has the power to destroy the training camps of such dangerous insurgents. That's the beauty of the Army Special Power Act, Armed Forces Special Power Act. Under Section 6 of the Act, the army people will also be getting complete immunity, legal immunity against the actions taken by them. So, therefore, they cannot be punished or prosecuted for carrying out a killing or an attack under the AFSPA. Until, with the permission of the central government, no army person will be punished for that. And this is the most controversial part of the AFSPA. For many years now, people in the Kashmir area, people in Manipur, especially the women, the tribal women, have complained that the army has misused its unlimited powers under the AFSPA and targeted civilians, harassed women. These are the normal complaints that people keep raising against the AFSPA. People also say it is a draconian law. It is a draconian law, just like the kind of law which the British government had passed as the Anti-Sedition Act, that allowed the government to shoot at sight and to do anything with people, to arrest blindly. This is exactly something similar. And that's why Section 6, where army is getting complete immunity for taking an action under AFSPA, is the most controversial clause of this act. Absolutely, Dipesh. Absolutely. It is an exemption. Correct. So, why does it come in force, the AFSPA? See, it was originally enacted long back during the period of 1980s, especially for Northeast India. Later, it was expanded to Punjab. and much later to Jammu Kashmir, as the cases of terrorism and insurgency kept on increasing in the Kashmir area, especially near the POK area. In 2025, that's today, in most places, the Armed Forces Special Power Act has been withdrawn, including many regions of Assam, Nagaland, Manipur, but it has to be enforced partially. Now, remember, recently there was also an insurgency from the KLO, the Kamtapur Liberation Organization in Assam. At the same time, we continue to see the Bodo land activities. There is a strong persistence of ethnic violence and Naxalism in these areas. They also come under the Red Corridor of India. The Red Corridor, areas that are characterized by a high degree of Naxalism. So, therefore, the government had to impose the AFSPA under certain districts of these states. For example, in Jammu and Kashmir, it is still in force under many regions, okay, across the union territory. So this is the importance of the AFSPA. There are certain benefits. Indeed, it helps in controlling the problems of internal security. It helps the government by identifying and completely killing, destroying terrorist infrastructure. It is a quick response force. Plus, army getting so much power means army will take charge of protection of civilians. But there are certain arguments against it also. For example, it is dehumanizing. Not only it is dehumanizing, but also at the same time, it is an act that has led to massive draconian abuse of power by the army. That is also what people are saying. People are saying it has led to human right concerns, abuses. Giving army legal immunity under Section 6 of the AFSPA weakens the responsibility and accountability of the army. Alienation. It creates a fear, alienation among the local population, especially tribals, who feel that they will be targeted for no reason, even if they raise a legitimate demand. For example, what is going on in Jammu and Kashmir right now? What is going on in Ladakh right now? The demand to include Ladakh Autonomous Council as a part of Schedule 6 of the Constitution. So every time the military cannot stop the tribal people from making logical demands. That's the problem. So that is the whole controversy about that in today's modern counter-insurgency operations. We need more dialogue and negotiation with the people on the ground. Otherwise, what is the purpose of creating Schedule 6 of the Constitution? What is the purpose under Schedule 6 of creating autonomous district councils, where the local tribals have a huge participation in their own management? But what if the demand becomes violent? Is it logical to impose AFSPA in such a case? Or is it the need of the hour? Now you can post your comments even after the video is over about what do you feel in this regard? What's your opinion? Do you really think it's a democratic protocol, or do you think it is absolutely a draconian law, quite like the colonial sedition law, and it should be completely outruled no matter what the situation on ground be? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a valid point order. Since all these are border states, we need to make some changes there. I so agree. Okay, so the next article is again a quick one. Prime Minister Shri Modi has launched a very ambitious program in Bihar. The program is targeted towards women. So this comes under GS paper 2, vulnerable sections of society in India, especially it is the women of Bihar who will be benefited by the scheme. The scheme is known as Mukhyamantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana. Now, although it is a state scheme, please understand, although it is a scheme by the state government, it is a state funded scheme for women in Bihar. But today it is seeing an active participation from the center, because according to the local estimates, elections are coming and the government wants to have a good footprint in Bihar, a good foothold in Bihar. So now what has happened? 75 lakh women in Bihar will be getting rupees 10,000 each. It's a direct benefit transfer scheme. So please understand, social welfare schemes can be of various kinds. One are the skilling scheme, where you give skill to an individual by giving them employment training. Another can be by providing subsidies to those individuals. And third can be the DBT schemes, direct benefit transfer scheme, where you directly transfer some money in the account of the beneficiary. This is a DBT scheme, direct benefit transfer, and up to 75 lakh women will be given a credit of rupees 10,000 in their accounts to start a business. The purpose is to make women into entrepreneur, to make them self-income generating members by enabling them, about 75 lakh of them, to change their life towards the better. So the scheme is usually a state funded scheme. It is not given by the center, but yes, center is participating because it's a very ambitious scheme, and also because for the leading central ruling government party, Bihar is also a major electorate. Now, this direct benefit transfer scheme will be giving, as I said, rupees 10,000 in each account to 75 lakh women. So the total amount that is being spent on the scheme is rupees 7,500 crore in the first phase of the launching itself. For women in Bihar, it is a great milestone because earlier also many welfare schemes have been operating in Bihar, such as Kanya Suraksha Yojana, a direct benefit transfer scheme to girl child, Mukhyamantri Udyami Yojana to promote entrepreneurships in women, reservation for women in Panchayat, whereas the usual rate was earlier 30%, now it has been increased up to 50% in the Panchayati Raj institutions. Schedule 11th of the Indian Constitution, Amendment 73rd of the Indian Constitution 1992. The new scheme today will also try to build self-help groups for women, which are small groups in which women contribute their own money. And later the government also provides them loans as a part of microfinancing initiative. Now the women can start business and upscale the business. The profit will be shared among the women members. In India, there are some excellent examples of successful SHGs like Kutum Sri in Kerala. So, over 1 crore women will be getting help from the Jivika scheme of the government, micro loaning, microfinancing to self-help groups across the state of Bihar. The benefit of a direct benefit transfer scheme is that it helps in saving the money. The money is not getting wasted. It is directly going to the beneficiary. As you're asking, my dear, yes, order. There are many other successful examples of the DBT schemes. For example, PM Ujjwala Yojana, PM Matru Vandana Yojana. It means maternity benefit Yojana, where directly money is transferred to the account of the pregnant woman so that during the time of delivery she can finance her hospital expenditure. Ladli Behen Yojana in Madhya Pradesh are the leading examples here of other DBT schemes. What are the benefits? It will enable women at the rural grassroots level to start taking up to business. It will reduce the dependence of these women on money lenders, informal sources of credit, because then the money lenders dupe them. It leads to bondage, intergenerational poverty, as people cannot return the high interest rate of loans. But through a DBT policy, the government is directly giving monetary help to these women. Plus, through self-help group, government is giving micro loans to these women. So now they can have banking access. They don't have to borrow informal money. It will empower women politically also. When women come together and start earning money, their groups also start becoming important in the village community. They will be able to fight elections for the panchayat. They will be able to demonstrate against social problems in the village. Ultimately, it will help in micro level job creation. See, in India, there is a very limited amount of labor force, less than 30% that works in the formal sector of the economy. The remaining all are working in the informal sector, especially women. 70% and above of women who earn in India earn from informal sources. Definitely, we cannot give jobs in the formal sector to everyone immediately. So, the best policy is to give them entrepreneur skills. If the women can start business, whether it's food business, a small level of toy business, apparel business, it is the best thing that can do to themselves. Okay, a very good question by Raju. My dear, alienation means when you exclude somebody. It is coming from the word alien. Just that alien means an outsider. Who is an alien? Outsider. So alienation means when you alienate somebody, you completely treat them as outsiders. You don't involve them in decision making. That's alienation. Absolutely, Saurav. I so agree there. If the border states come under Schedule 6, it's a wonderful comment you have made. I want to read this aloud. Give me a moment. Absolutely, Veda. Central participation is vote bank politics. I agree. The main power will remain at the center, Saurav. And Dipesh and Saurav are answering. After that, I want to read a comment that Saurav has made because it's a very important comment and I want everybody to know. Okay, with reference to the Mukhya Mantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana, look at the following statements. One, it is a state funded scheme of Bihar but was launched by the Prime Minister. Two, the scheme provides an initial money of rupees 10,000 to women with a possible additional rupees 2 lakh after the 6 months period has expired based on the performance of these ladies. And three, the funds can be used only for agricultural activities. Is that the case? So absolutely A is the valid answer. Well answered, everybody, my dear. Now let me quickly read Saurav's comment. He says, a big problem of including border states in sixth schedule of the constitution is that it will be a loss and a threat to India's national security, because then countries like China and Pakistan will have a massive participation in the local politics. And that's such a beautiful observation. That's such a valid observation that you've made. So please remember, everybody, that's a very strong argument against not allowing all the various border states with a high level of tribal and scheduled areas into sixth schedule, because sixth schedule talks about giving powers to certain states like Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram by making autonomous district council for them, in which majority of members will be local tribals. They will have much more autonomy in decision making and administration. What if it is done to border states? Will the cross border politics not start infiltrating? Many times, tribals of one state in India have regional, racial, cultural relations with border states. For example, the Kuki-Chin tribes of Myanmar and the Indian tribes, the Kuki tribes of Mizoram, Meghalaya, they have a huge similarity in culture. That leads to foreign interference in Indian soil. So that's a very valid point that you've made, and thank you for that observation. Very well answered, everyone. No problem at all. No problem at all. That was well answered, Jayant, SM, Bhai Raju, Saurav, Order, Dipesh. Okay, Veda, well answered there. Now, one of the last articles. President Trump is now having a detailed discussion with the Pakistani Prime Minister. This is one more proof of how both the countries want to deepen their relationship, and quite a shock for India. India, who has always expected the global community, especially America, to condemn Pahalgam terror attack by Pakistan, is once again under shock. Because last week, Saudi Arabia had signed the Strategic Defense Management Act with Pakistan. Both the countries are mutual agreement with Pakistan, and both the countries today are defense partners. Again today, America has gone ahead and had a very detailed discussion with Prime Minister of Pakistan. And most unfortunately, not just the Prime Minister of Pakistan, but at the same time, Pakistani Army Chief, whom India blames for Pahalgam attack, was also present in the meeting. Not only will US and Pakistan try to solve the tariff arrangement between them, but once again Pakistan has provoked India by telling President Trump that thank you. You are the real peacekeeper of this world. You are the only moral person in today's world because you created the peace between India and Pakistan. Yes, President Trump, you negotiated the war between India and Pakistan. You prevented the war from becoming a full-scale nuclear war. You, President Trump, is trying to help Ukraine in war against Russia. So therefore, yes, you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize, absolutely. And Pakistan is with you. And President Trump was also quite happy with the comment. It seems that he's being called as the world leader by Pakistan. And therefore, America is also saying that President Trump, who is now being called the man of peace by Pakistan, is extremely happy. And he's saying, yes, we will negotiate on the tariff. We will support you. Why? Because you are calling me the man of peace. What else can we say about this news? Let's see how the relationship continues. Definitely, it is a shock and it is extremely hypocritical to the level of boiling your blood. It is that kind of hypocrisy right now. Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree, Veda. Yes, order. That's valid point. Absolutely, Saurav. Neither can we laugh nor can we hate. It is like shameful, absolutely. Now, the next article, Iran and Russia have once again, as a shock to America and Israel, look at geopolitics, have signed a $25 billion nuclear deal. A deal for creating 4 nuclear power plants has been signed between Iran, Iran's nuclear facility, Iran's nuclear agency, Hormuz, and Russia's Rosatom. So this deal has been signed today of worth $25 billion. The deal will finalize the construction of 4 nuclear power plants, including Sirik, Hormozgan, and few others. And the deal was signed between the nuclear companies of both the countries. Iran has recently started operating its age-old nuclear power plant in Bushehr, that is in South Iran, which America had also attacked recently with Israeli support. And now Iran has expanded the capacity of Bushehr by 1,000 megawatts. But the country in reality has 4 times much more nuclear power. And according to an internal report, each power plant now in Iran will have 1255 megawatts of nuclear energy. This move comes as a major slap on America. It's a tight slap on America. Why? Because America yesterday at the United Nations General Assembly Summit once again said, President Trump said, I am ready to impose another round of sanctions on Russia. European Union said, we are ready to impose 19th round of sanction on Russia. And this deal is coming at the backdrop of that. US continues to impose sanctions on Iran also. But what is happening here? Both the countries have happily signed the nuclear pact. What a huge slap in the face for Israel and US, of course, in a major way. So now let's see what happens in future. And now the last article for the day is about, once again, President Trump. And President Trump has now once again increased another tariff limit, but this time on patented drugs, branded patented drugs. So here I just want to clear one concept to you. The difference between generic drug, patented drug, and the concept of compulsory licensing. All for the GS paper 3, science and technology. Pharmaceutical. Three concepts I want you to understand. That's it. So US under President Trump has once again increased up to 100% tariff on new branded patented drugs that will be exported to the US. US will not allow any branded patented drug that has been manufactured outside America. If it comes in America, it will be experiencing 100% tariff. Similarly, 25% heavy duty tariff will also be imposed on trucks, construction sector. So what is going on really? Besides, 35% tariff will be imposed on household items like furniture, bathroom utilities, vanities, and other kind of upholstery, all the furnishing of the house. What is going on? 100% on patented branded drugs, 25% on heavy duty trucks, especially trucks that come from Mexico, Canada, Japan, Finland, and 35% on kitchen items. So what is the controversy all about? President Trump says we have done this to protect America's economy from dumping and flooding by foreign manufactured goods and products. It will harm the interest of American local manufacturers if we continue to allow our economy to be flooded with foreign products. So we want to protect our domestic industries, and that's why we want to become protectionist. And hence, we have the America First policy with 100%, 35% and 25% tariff on branded pharmaceuticals, kitchenware items, and heavy trucks. We will ensure that in America, we protect domestic jobs also, domestic manufacturing industries also. But some exemptions will be provided to those countries with whom America is already having some free trade agreement, which is finalized, like EU countries and Japan. Except that on all the countries, the tariff will be there. So will it have an impact on Indian pharmaceutical industry? So here you need to understand a very important concept, my dear, and that concept is of the difference between branded and generic drug. Branded, patented drug and generic drug. See, now let's understand. Medicines that you and I consume, injections that are available in the market, any kind of drug or medicine comes in two categories. The first category is the category where a very well known company does a heavy amount of investment in research, packaging, safety, bioequivalence, bioavailability. How much of the drug will be absorbed by the body? At what speed will the drug be absorbed in the bloodstream? Will it have a side effect? What kind of a color and packet is it using? Is it not using too much of any metallic compound? Is it safe to be consumed in the long term? All this needs investment and money. So, various companies across the world, for example, Pfizer from America, Sanofi, all these well known countries across the world invest a huge amount of money in creating their own patented branded drugs. Why are they branded? Because they are being manufactured by leading pharmaceutical companies. Why are they branded? Because the companies are spending crores of dollars into doing proper research, packaging, and safety protocols. Correct? Now that they have done so much, they are given a patent over it. Nobody else can copy that drug. Usually, patents are issued for 10 years to 15 years. Within that period of time, nobody can copy your drug. You are the only proprietor of that drug. But the problem is, these drugs are very expensive. For example, various cancer medicines, various diabetes control medicines, various cardiovascular medicines created by big companies like Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson, Sanofi, they are unaffordable to public. Normal people can't buy them, especially in the developing countries. We can't afford the cost. Here comes the concept of generic drug. After a branded pharmaceutical like Sanofi and Pfizer have enjoyed 10 to 15 years of patent right over that drug, the patent starts expiring. And once the patent has expired, now other countries can also come and copy the same formulation with a different name. That is called generic drug. It is a copy of the original branded drug, but it can be only manufactured once the patent on the original drug, that is the sole property of the brand, expires. Now it is launched in a market for a massive consumption. For example, there could be Dolo, the paracetamol that you buy for an expensive price. At the same time, it can have 1,000 various brand names available in Indian market. So depending on your pocket, if you buy from the Jan Aushadhi Kendra, the government pharmacy, you can find 2 rupees 40 tablets also. But similarly, if you buy it from a brand like Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, then you might have to spend say rupees 100 on the same thing. So that's the difference, okay? The difference is about who has the patent and who, after the expiry of that patent, launched the drug for mass consumption. Correct? You understood? But here there is a unique catch. There is the logic of compulsory licensing also. Compulsory licensing. India had issued only once the compulsory licensing unto a company called Bayer's Pharmaceutical. What is the controversy? Let me quickly explain. Sometimes what happens, although for 10 to 15 years, the big pharmaceutical companies like Johnson Johnson, Pfizer, Sanofi, they have an exclusive right to manufacture a drug. But the drug is expensive. So long back in 2000s, there was a drug that was created by a company called Bayer's from Germany that used to treat kidney cancer. Very good, Dipesh. Kidney cancer. It was an oncology drug, but it was unaffordable. Majority people across the world, especially Asian countries, couldn't afford that. In that case, for the betterment of public, to save the lives of common people, the government invokes a clause called compulsory license. Here, the owner of the patent, for example, Bayer's, the Bayer's company, was paid some compensation amount. And the patent of the drug was allowed to be used. Many other companies were allowed to manufacture and copy that medicine by providing some financial compensation to Bayer. But that's a very unique situation. It can only be invoked if the governments feel that too much injustice is happening. And such a tight patent and such a high cost is doing harm to the public. So, in that case, yes, we can invoke compulsory licensing. But it is an exceptional situation. Like in India, it was allowed for kidney cancers to a drug manufactured by the Bears pharmaceutical. And later it was given to other drugs, other companies to make the same kind of drug. Yes, absolutely. Today, so many Indian companies are copying that. Correct? I hope the concept is clear. This is very important. If anybody has a doubt with branded patented drugs versus generic drugs versus compulsory license, I can make a separate video also. Please tell. So today, will it impact India? 100% US tariff on branded patented drugs? Not exactly. Not exactly. Why? Because in India, whichever brands you are seeing today, Cipla, Bharat Biotech, Dr. Reddy's, to name a few, all these are the manufacturers of generic drugs. They are the generic branded drugs. They are not original patented drugs. These companies are reselling generic drugs in their own name. So therefore, it will not harm India so much because India is the capital of the world, the pharmaceutical capital of the world in generic drug manufacturing and supply. India hardly has a massive branded patented drug manufacture. That's very rare actually. And most of those who are also having a manufacturing unit in America and Europe. So therefore, India will not experience that kind of a loss here. Okay, so India is safe because the tariff is being imposed on the branded patents, not on the generic drug. And India is manufacturing usually generic drugs. So India will not face the problem. And in India, whichever little patented brands are there, they are operating from America only. They have factories in America. And America has said, I will not impose tariff on those companies who are manufacturing from American soil. So India is quite safe over here. India will not have so much problem. And it will not really impact India pharmaceutical that much. It will impact, but not majorly. But yes, India will be impacted because furniture price has gone up. So once again, manufacturing sector, price will suffer, and Indian exporters will not be able to sell at an affordable price in American market. Nobody will buy Indian products. It could also strain India-US relationship because pharma is a key sector. It could also mean India will further have to diversify its trade in pharma, in furniture, in heavy trucks, in automobiles to other countries of the world. It could also affect the transparency of WTO regimes. Why is it that America is favoring countries like Japan and EU and continuing to punish India even today? Well, we all know the hidden reason. Protecting America's manufacturing companies is just an excuse. The real reason is to continue to punish India because India continues to buy Russian oil. That's what it boils down to. That's it. And now we will end the session. I'll quickly come to your doubt, my dear Veda. And the last quick news is that Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, who is the leader of the movement, who is demanding for statehood and sixth schedule identification of the Union Territory of Ladakh, has now been arrested under the provisions of National Security Act. To the shock of his followers and family. Why was he arrested under the National Security Act 1980? Because under the Act, the central and the state government can detain an individual who is blamed to create a chaos with public order and national security. Yesterday, the protest went violent. Some people were injured in the protest. Because of that, the government invoked NSA, National Security Act. And a person under the Act can be held, detained without a proven charge for a period of 12 months. There is also a provision to detain the person beyond 3 months also after being approved by an advisory committee of High Court judges. On what grounds can you be detained? National security, law and order, relations with a foreign country. If you are affecting essential supply of goods and services within your country, the detention can be ordered by the district magistrate or the state government. And the union government can also take this power in its own hand. Yes, the person who is arrested will have certain basic rights, but majority of rights will not be given because it is not an ordinary arrest under Article 22 of the Constitution. It is a special arrest under NSA, which is about internal national security. There is no legal remedy here, like a preventive bail. And There is also no such clause like habeas corpus writ that you have to produce the arrested in front of the magistrate. In ordinary arrest, there is a writ called habeas corpus. A person who is arrested will have to be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours. But here there is no such clause because arrest has been made under NSA. People are saying again this is also a very cruel law. It is not a good law. It is just like Armed Forces Special Power Act because it is a violation of Article 22 of the Indian Constitution. You cannot incriminate somebody twice. You cannot detain a person until the charges are proven. So therefore, Article 22 of the Constitution that further enables you the right to freedom, liberty, and to defend yourself in the case of an arrest is also threatened by this. So now, what exactly happens, we are yet to see. But the constitutional articles that are under question are definitely Article 32, right to constitutional remedies, various writs of the Constitution, and Article 22, which talks about right to save yourself, right to demand protection for yourself and fight your cause in case you are detained by the government under any such situation. Okay, now what was the doubt? Absolutely. The Bears buys Monsanto. That's very good, Joshua. Can you please repeat your doubt, Veda? What was the doubt exactly there? Okay, the doubt is here. Yes, they can do that. But in the case of a compulsory license, there is a fixed amount that you will pay to the company whose patent you are actually leaking out to the public. Why? Because you think it is in the interest of the public. Okay. So no other big brand is stealing your patent. It is now being allowed in the market as a generic market, generic medicine. So basically, compulsory license is the mechanism of converting a patented branded drug into a generic drug. That's all it is about. Okay. It is nothing else. Now the question, NSA was used where? Yes, we can discuss it tomorrow. Definitely, we can bring it as a special session. Proofs where NSA was used in the recent past. Definitely, we can talk about it, Order. That's wonderful. So now, with the time constraint, I will take your leave, but definitely I'll bring it back to you, my dear. I will bring it back. Yes, that's what people are believing, Order. So, by Raju, the companies in America, Pfizer is the leading company. Talking about Germany, it's Bears. Europe, Sanofi. You have other leading companies like Johnson and Johnson. So many companies are there that are proper branded companies from the US and Europe. In India, you have branded companies, but majority of them are making generic drugs, not really the patented original drugs, because nobody can afford them. Nobody can afford them. Per tablet, the price can shoot up to 2,000 rupees if generic medicines are not manufactured. The tablets that you and I are eating, Dolo, paracetamol, we can't even afford that if it is not coming under generic manufacturing. So here's where the beauty of Indian pharmacy comes in. Cipla, Dr. Reddy, and so many companies are there. So whichever we are consuming right now are all generic formulations. That's why they are affordable to us. The question with reference to NSA in 1980, look at the following statements. 1. It empowers the central and the state government to detain a person to prevent him from acting against national security or public order. 2. A person detained under NSA cannot be held beyond 3 months unless approved by Advisory Board of Judges of High Court. 3. The Act provides that every detainee has a right to legal aid and bail. So here, Mr. Sen, Jayant, Dipesh, Saurav, Veda, everybody saying A is the answer and so is it. Absolutely well answered, my dear. And now before I take your leave, okay, there was a last article, but I will cover this on Monday now. I have taken too much of your time. I've taken too much of your time. I'll give you one line context and come back on Monday and do it with you. So Supreme Court is saying I will not ban firecrackers completely, because when you ban something completely, it leads to black marketing and mafia control. So therefore, we will not completely ban the firecrackers in spite of the fact that pollution in the NCR area is expected to shoot up again right from October end to February 2026. But we will not create a complete blanket ban, because if we ban, it always leads to black marketing and mafia, plus it impacts the job and salary of the workers who are working in the cracker manufacturing and selling sector. So the alternative is, let us allow people to create certified green crackers. Green crackers are manufactured by institutes like NEERI and PESO. Now, these green crackers will have a lesser carbon footprint and they will not exactly create this much pollution rather than making a complete ban. So government doesn't want it. Government wants a balanced approach. Why? Because under Article Constitution, Article 21, although people have a right to clean environment, but under Article 19(1)(g), the workers in the firecracker industry also have a right to livelihood and work. Okay, so the government is balancing both the rights, and this is the Supreme Court order all about that. Let's allow green crackers, which emit 30 to 40% less pollution. For example, the Safal crackers, the Star crackers. Ultimately, it's about directive principle of state policy also. Article 47. It is the duty of the state to protect public health, but it is also Article 19(1)(g), the right to freedom. Everybody has a right to continue their trade and business except reasonable restrictions. So all this is coming under question. That's all. That's all for the day. A quick reminder before I leave. There is an ongoing sale, okay? And this is the sale as we celebrate 20 million subscriber at StudyIQ, all because of your love, your participation, your enthusiasm. After all, it's your platform. So here is the chance to use the code SPLIVE and then tap into this massive sale opportunity. The courses are beginning as less as 20,000 rupees only for various GS Foundation courses. Should you want more details, please reach out to us. Fill up the form in the description box and we will get back to you. Okay. And you will also get massive discounts on the optionals if you take the sale. Sale is valid till 30th September. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend, my dear. God bless all of you. Love you all. See you back on Monday with all the doubts, all the queries, and absolutely what you want me to cover in detail. Compulsory license and how was NSA, National Security Act, used in the past. Good day.